Imagine having an AI-powered search engine for candidate profiles from across the open web and even from within your own ATS. Well, that's exactly what HireTool is. HireTool is a global talent platform that serves all recruiters, from small businesses to the world's largest enterprises. And with 750 million plus profiles from over 45 open web sources and channels and 30 plus integration partners, there's literally something for everyone. Recruiters can find more talent with AI sourcing, send unlimited emails, and integrate with your favorite recruitment tools all in one platform. If you're spending hours looking for qualified candidates, underrepresented talent, and updated contact information, then HireTool is probably what you need for your toolkit. HireTool is a platform that helps great recruiters accomplish more every single day. Check them out at hiretool.com.
What is up, everyone? HR Famous. I'm your boy, Kris Dunn, back again, like in the hosting seat, the host with the most, or something adjacent to that statement. With me, as always, is Tim Sackett and JLee. JLee, I'm going to Tim first because I've been told that I have a preference in going to you first. So, Tim Sackett, how are you? What is going on?
I'm looking at myself in the camera. I'm like, I'm ready for a tennis match this afternoon. I got all the tennis gear on.
It's a lot.
My youngest son is a senior, and we come hard at the Sacketts when we come to an event. We get dressed up and we're ready to go.
Yeah, you're in all white. You're ready for the sun. You always have that flush of color. So yeah, you're dressed appropriately. Yeah. But speaking of fashion, also with us today, the one, the only, Jessica Lee. Jessica, how are you?
I'm good. I wish not to be known for fashion, though. And by the way, what's interesting is what is now in fashion is to look like a bum. So
the fashionista. So why wouldn't you want to be known for fashion? I mean, just like I'd rather be known for my brain or wit or stuff like that.
Exactly.
Well, can it be all of that? Can it be that and that? Like,
I mean, sure, but no one ever says you're so well-rounded. You've got it all.
You're so well-spoken.
No.
You speak so well.
So for the listeners, our good listeners of this podcast, if you could join our group text last Saturday, I had sent a note from the Wall Street Journal just on what movers and shakers were doing in the world of women's fashion in the workplace. I said that like Thursday or Friday. Jessica Lee finally got to my text on Saturday morning. She's got a busy life. There's a lot going on. And she said, "Why did you send this to me? Like, I need more." So it started with a conversation, and it ended up with me giving like some Stephen A. Smith style hot takes on where I thought women's fashion was. And I think I may have broke the machine when Jessica Lee read that. Jessica, be kind, but any direct comments you want to give me related to my sense of what was up?
Well, the best way I can explain your analysis of the state of fashion as people consider returning to work was that it just felt like it was a bunch of words strung together, like blazer, herringbone,
pieces,
BU, comfortable, pieces,
neutral
pieces. And I was like, what is this? I didn't understand.
I take umbrage with the fact that you associated me with herringbone. That was not in my text. I felt pressure because you said, "Why are you sending this to me?" And I was like, "I'll read it. I'll read the article I sent," because I hadn't even read it.
You even read it. You just saw the
comfortable knits. Like you just like jamming in phrases.
I just wanted you to tell me, I just wanted you to give me comments that, hey, this, and this are correct. That's BS. And that's BS. And then I was like, okay, I'll read it. Since you asked me that question, and I came correct. And I had the sense that you weren't respecting my hot takes, which, by the way, is good judgment on your part, because I do not know what's going on.
I think the hottest take of all that was, it was Wall Street Journal. There was 4 professional women all in dresses. And the hot take was, we started talking about the athleisure dress, right? JLee, didn't you get a couple of those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the athleisure dress.
And then I only knew about that because when we were in New York last time, Cameron took us to Outdoor Voices, and that was like the creator of the athleisure dress. And they can't even keep them in stock. Like they're like the big brand for that.
Wasn't the first person to the athleisure dress Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails? I think that's right. He had kind of
I just think that was a long t-shirt.
it was a kilt, it was a men's kilt, I believe. And it wasn't cotton, right? It was like the right type of material.
I
Like
love a kilt, by the
Herringbone.
way.
I
I
love Trent
like
Reznor. Like
I,
we need to do a Trent Reznor
Wait a minute.
episode.
I've never heard someone say I love a kilt. You love a
oh,
kilt.
I love it when a man wears a kilt.
Oh
I
God.
think it's a great
Nah,
look.
it's no. You're like thinking of the guy, like the GQ magazine guy in the kilt, like that. It's just chiseled out of a fucking stone. It's not like when you see the guy, like in real life, guys that wear kilts, or like the Irish guy with a fat belly and a red beard. Like
That's
that's not
charming
like.
too. Oh no, that's charming with his like, cherry cheeks. He looks like a little cherub in a kilt. I think that's cool too. By the way, the person the like where the athleisure wear dress started, I actually thought we were gonna go first full circle is in the space of
Yeah,
tennis. And so I'm
yeah.
sure, you know, that's being worn on the tennis courts again.
Very good. By the way, we're gonna come back to men in the world in just a second. So we're gonna talk, just stay with us. We're gonna talk about male participation rate going down in college. So this is kind of a future. We're gonna like end with a couple of future like focus things. Got lower male participation rates in college. We're also going to talk about, I want to talk a little bit about universal pre-K and even like highly funded childcare and what that can mean, because I think that's an interesting topic. But those are future related topics. We're going to start, JLee, with advice you would have to a younger version of yourself, for Tim as well. So here's the situation. I got a text from a colleague, somebody I respect a lot, somebody younger than I am. That's not hard these days. Okay. And this individual was very dissatisfied with their job and they're 100% going to quit. They're 100% going to quit. And the question they had was, do I wait until I have a job? Or do, their words, not mine, do I join the Great Resignation and leave before I have another job? So I looked up Great Resignation, heard the term before, but I found this great description. I'm going to read it. And then JLee, it's coming in hot to you. What advice would you have to this person? Quit before he or she has a job or wait till they have a job? So here's the little tidbit I wanted to read. But the Great Resignation, as it's been called, may also contain a generational disaster in the making. As of June, according to the job data, 942,000 of those who quit their job hadn't taken another position yet. Maybe they're waiting on something better to come along, or maybe they're not searching at all, choosing instead to take some time off to recuperate from the pandemic's emotional toll or to pursue a long held dream. Dreamy. But for millennials, so I'm coming to you first, JLee. So Tim can't rant against millennials. But for millennials, the largest generation in American history, the financial consequences of even a brief stint of unemployment could compound their earlier misfortunes they're still grappling with. You're a geriatric millennial. You're next up, JLee. You're leading this group. What advice would you have for millennials? Do they quit before they have a job and join the Great Resignation or not? What's up?
Well, I think the ability for someone to quit before they have another job is a bit of a privileged situation to be in. So that's like one of the starting points I come in with on this front. And I hope that person is very thankful and recognizes that that is a privilege. That's not reality for many, many, many people. Um, But whether you should quit, I mean, because I am on the geriatric scale of the millennials, I mean, I just think that the reality is there's still a lot of stigma around being unemployed and like being able to explain, yes, I left because of A, B, and C, and I was off the market for whatever time period. I don't know that people are going to look favorably on that. You know, I think it's hard enough when you have reasons such as you took time off to rear a child or whatever. So my advice is no, stick it out. I mean, it can't be that bad. It just really can't be that bad.
Welcome to Gen X,
I
JLee.
have I
Way to
am
go.
Gen
Way to
X
go
now.
hard.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
like that. You know who's going to go hard at this for just what I read about millennials? That's Tim Sackett.
Mhm.
Tim, come on in. Do you need some intro music?
I
Like
don't
John
need it.
Cena coming
Yeah.
in?
Oh,
Do
love John
or The
Cena.
Rock. Do you smell what The Rock? Katie, like you and I think agree on this is like it's like proven fact that it's easier to get a job when you have a job. Like it's just you do not
Mm.
quit
These are
the
facts.
job. These are facts. Since the beginning of time, when the first cavemen tried to, get a
In a
rock breaker
world.
job, no, like I mean, but like you just wouldn't. I mean, I say that because like I've always had a job since I could legally have a job, and I was doing jobs before I could legally have a job. Like I can't. The Gen Z younger millennial group out there, they just look at it differently. Like I mean, I think we've come to that where it's just like, hey, you know what? I don't like this job, so screw you. I'm leaving, and I'll find something else. Um, I don't think my own kids believe like that are Gen Zs think that way, but I just think the overall generation seems to think that way. So my advice would be do not. I don't care how bad you hate that job. I don't care if they're locking you in the office. I don't care if they're beating you and whipping you. Keep that job until you have the next job. There is a stigma that people like us when we go to look at somebody that says you're out of a job. Why didn't they go, oh, I left that job because I wasn't, motivated or I didn't, didn't see things, whatever it is, it becomes a negative against you when you're out of a job. I mean, the only thing I think that we saw in the last couple, like probably decade, that would be pandemic and Great Recession, right? Hey, I lost it because the pandemic, we got furloughed, like I'm out of a job, I'm looking, and people go, okay, cool, got it. Or like the the Great Recession, the same thing happened to a lot of people. Otherwise, like right now, when there's 10 billion open jobs and you're saying I'm out of a job, like people are going, wait a minute, why are you out of a job?
I'm going to change the topic. Tim, you've got 3 boys. So I'm coming to you first on this because they're older than JLee's son. And you've got an older one than I do. I've got 2 boys. So I'm going to come to you on this next article. Wall Street Journal did an article earlier this week, got a lot of called "A Generation of American Men Have Given Up on College." I'll read you a couple paragraphs from this. At the close of the 2020-21 academic year, women made up almost 60% of college students, just under that. Men were at just over 40%, according to enrollment data from the National Student Clearinghouse, a nonprofit research group, excuse me. U.S. colleges and universities had 1.5 million fewer students compared with 5 years ago, and men accounted for 71% of the decline. The education gap, which holds true at both 2 and 4 year colleges, has been widened. It's been widening slowly for 40 years. The divergence increases at graduation. After 6 years of college, that was my college plan, by the way, Tim, 65% of women in the US who started a 4-year university in 2012 received diplomas by 2018, compared with just 59% of men during the same period, according to the US Department of Education. So, Tim, the background in here is that men are fading out of college, and that seems like it might be a problem. What's your initial reaction to that, and where would you take us on the conversation?
To me, it's a problem. It's only a problem. Well, it is a problem because I would say it's not a problem if we could sit there and say, hey, that 70% of men, 5 million less men going to college from a decade ago, if we had an avenue for them to go into the skilled trades areas and like these kind of, we're definitely giving them functional skills where they can still make great living wages and do good things for their family. Like that's awesome. I would say I have no issue, because when we take a look at leadership data, we know that females tend to be better leaders in a modern world, right? So I don't have a problem with women being more educated than men. I have a woman dentist, a woman doctor, a woman lawyer, a woman CPA. Like mine, like all my, like my, I would say the team Sackett leadership team around me is all females, and I'm totally comfortable with that. And I think it's good. I think where we fail is that we did not give men an avenue that was not formal education, but more like our grandparents had, where our grandfathers went into all of these skilled trades and had good paying jobs and had a skill they could be proud of. We're not giving that avenue to the current boys that are growing up right now. Now, again, you could sit there and say it's a family dynamic. You could sit there and say a lot of things. I have no idea why this is happening at the rate it is. And maybe it's the tech boom, right? Because a lot of these, we know for sure the majority of tech workers are men, and a lot of those are not going to college because they don't have to. I mean, they can get on their computers and learn this stuff, and then they figure that out. So I'm not disturbed necessarily about the number difference. I'm disturbed about like what's happening after the fact. Like, what are we doing, to give everybody a, kind of equal access to different kinds of education?
I think my reaction is that I think it's cool to say, and it's true on an anecdotal basis, that there are different avenues, right? And some kid can go to a coding academy and bypass college. I don't think that's the norm. I think that's something you would point to as a big success. JLee, you've got a young one. Your son is 4 years old, correct?
Correct.
What do you see with this as you read the article? And then I'll give both of you kind of my view of this, of what I see with two boys in the house.
Well, there were like two big areas I reacted to where I just have like so many questions. And I think, especially because I have younger children, one of the big questions for me is like root cause, like when we peel back a few years before they get to college age or college entrance exams or whatever it might be, like what are the drivers that's causing for them to not go on this path? And so there's like a little bit in the article around, are there, societal, cultural things that are potentially distracting them? Video games, pornography, other things. I think they were, talking about as potential drivers. And so, like, understanding what's causing this, I think, is like really important. Because there's got to be some kind of something that we can point to. So that's one area where I'm super curious around, like, why, what is happening here. But then the other thing I'm really like interested in is if we like fast forward, let's just say 10 years from now, and the numbers are still like this or have gotten worse. Like what I will be really fascinated by is, is like the pendulum gonna swing a different direction where all of a sudden there's all this focus and attention on boys, and how do we get them on the right path? And like I can't even fathom the idea of like a broad campaign to like, put some energy behind getting our boys on the right track and sending boys to college. Like the
Jay,
ways that we
no,
did like things.
Hey, this is William Tincup. Listen, we did a series for iSolved called Heroes of HR, where we talk to HR practitioners. And these are just your run-of-the-mill, everyday, slogging it out, 300 employees in Cedar Rapids, HR pros. Mostly it's centered around iSolved and what they do with iSolved, but also they talk a lot about kind of the day-to-day rigor of HR. If you're curious about that, search for Heroes of HR wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.
Jay, take this 40 years from now, and we're going to have commercials like highlighting white boys because they're going to be the minority that we're trying to get back.
Yeah, who have fallen behind, right? And I can't even conceptually wrap my brain around that
No, yeah.
at all. like years ago, it used to be take your daughter to work, right? And it was about how do you expose them to the world of work and that they can be a professional. Like, are we going to have like take your boys? Like, so like the whole thing is so fascinating. I have so many questions, but like if I go backwards and then also I go forwards, like my mind goes in a million different directions around like, oh my gosh, what are we dealing with? Like, this
JLee,
is so juicy.
when you say you can't fathom that, does that mean that you just can't get your head around it, or you don't think we'll be there in 10 years if the circumstances call for it?
Um, I maybe a little bit of both. Like one, I just can't fathom when there's been there's always so much attention on equity with women and girls and advancing women and girls. I just like the idea of us trying to like drive equity and advance boys for me as an idea, like I can't even wrap my head around it. But then there's also a part of me that really questions and wonders like in America specifically in the Western world, like would we as a society and culture like want like do we have enough too much pride to let something like that happen? Like if I like put some kind of hat on where I'm thinking about stereotypes of what it means to be like a male and masculine, like would decision makers, people who lead and govern this world actually feel like, yeah, we're gonna be vulnerable and say like we got to take care of our boys. Like there's a element of like masculinity and
So,
ego that I
yeah.
just yeah,
Hey,
I'm like it's
JLee, I'm glad you said it rather than me, because that's where I wanted to take us. So,
yeah,
JLee, react to this for me, okay?
yeah.
Here's what I see with college age youth. And Tim, you can react to it too, but I'll let JLee go first since she brought up the masculinity point of view. I believe that when it comes to college and everything that's gone on in terms of cultural change, rightfully so, right? Gender equality, like looking to make sure that people of all different backgrounds are like taken care of, and that we're really looking out for the needs of it. I believe that it's created an environment of learning. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It's created an environment in reaction to learning at the post-secondary school level, right? Even late secondary school, like late high school, and certainly college. The perception is that those environments do not welcome any form of masculinity. The only place you'll find it is in a frat or in bro packs that roam around college. So when you get to, if that's the perception of a kid based on what they read and what they see, a boy, right? Like if that's the reflection of that male, they're going to be naturally less interested in college because they don't think it's for them. By the way, they still like feel like an old boy, young man, right? They still have this masculinity in the environment that's there. Unless they get into a certain group, I feel like a lot of people aren't identifying based on what they think they know with it. I also think it's a big problem with learning. When you think about in the male like dominated like society, you think about the importance of sports, very masculine. You think about the importance of video games, shooter based, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's hard for them to make the transition and to stick with learning. And I don't think, JLee, to your point, I don't think we've done a great job of keeping our eye on this. And I don't think there's enough people equipped to say, hey, you know what? You can be masculine, but you've got to be, it's okay for you to be masculine. So it's okay for you to be a man. But here's how you navigate this world. Like you can be both. And in order for you to do everything you're going to do, you have to be responsible for both of those sides, right? You can be masculine, be you, but you also have to know that you're walking into a situation in college, situation in life that has a lot of things at play. It's not just about you. So I think what they do is they see this environment that doesn't match whatever their view of their masculinity is, and they just opt out. I'll let you react to that, JLee. That's clearly what I see.
I think it's probably like an angle and an area of discussion that probably is so discouraged, is probably seen as taboo, and that just like exacerbates the whole thing. Like there is, this, idea of toxic masculinity that I think is out there in the ether, and that is probably also real. And so, like, for this to be a salient discussion on campuses, in homes, like, so I think it's a really hard one to have. And I actually didn't think we would go here, but it's a very real discussion to have. Part of what it makes me think of, though, is just in general when it comes to learning environments. I don't know that they're all constructed in a way that respects just diversity in general, whether it's masculinity, whether it's different socioeconomic classes, whether it's other factors. And so I think that's probably part of the like thing that needs to be looked at. It's not just, is it welcoming and conducive for someone who maybe feels or identifies as being more masculine, but it's just like all kinds of diversity. I think they're built for, a person, but maybe not all people. And that might be one of the only few ways that this is tackled, though, because I think it'll continue to be taboo to like have a focus and say, like, we want to welcome a more masculine perspective, point of view,
So,
or being.
so Tim, you've got 3 kids,
Yeah.
and you got 3 boys. I've got 2, and I think the dropout here, JLee, and I'm going to go to Tim and ask for his reaction to this. It takes a really engaged parent.
Mm.
Like when you see kind of this disconnect between masculinity and how the university world views it, it takes a really engaged parent to work through that. And because I would tell you, I've got at least one that left to their own devices without a hard like household influence might be in the army right now.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. It's great to give that service to your country, but he's capable of doing that at a later point in his life while he explores college, et cetera, et cetera. Tim, I know that you've had to be engaged with your boys on a variety of levels. Anything to add to the conversation about this disconnect and how people drop off of the college radar?
No, Katie, I tell people all the time, like again, this to me starts way before college. I think it starts in our public schools. And I think, we have right now, it's like, I always tell people there's only 3 avenues for kids to go. And it's been this way for a good solid decade or more that I've been around public schools with my own kids, which is you're going to college or you're going to the military, which is a really small number, by the way. That's a sliver of the total fraction. So it's pretty much most of you are going to go to college, a few of you are going to go to the military, and a few of you are going to go to prison. Like those are the only options you have. But we know if you were to take 100% of those kids, there's probably only half or less that are like college ready and capable that really want to go to college. So what you're telling the other 50% is, hey, go to the military or F you. We're not giving you any other options. And I think that's really the crux, of the problem that we see, because to me, I think females are more encouraged, over the last couple of decades to go to college and become whatever, like, take your girls to work and, girls that code. And like, we put so much effort and energy into these females. And again, it was needed, at the same time, we go by the wayside. I go back to what JLee said, though, is like, I'm so far away from, if we take a look at the Fortune 500 CEOs, how many are female right now, right? Like hardly any still. And like, are we going to get to this point where a company's going to go and say, okay, our top 10 leaders, they're only female. Okay. So, it seems so disconnected and far away. And yet the world is moving so fast that I think we can all sit here and go, well, wait a minute. If the funnel of talent is going to be majority female, we know that at some point there's going to be this tipping point where, we're going to see a mass changeover in overall organizational and really government leadership to female.
Hey, and this has been a thing for a while. I think, the world's not a better place with male participation rates that low. Tim, I would tell you that the paths, like in terms of technical school and things like that, are there, but only with a really aggressive mentor.
For sure.
That's going to point you to that. Like it's not accessible enough where you can say, hey, you should become a coder. You should be a software developer. That takes so much work to provide a path that's not college based for that kid. It's just not a simple thing. And I think, like, I'll close out the conversation. We're out of time. We'll do pre-K like another day. But JLee, the thing that's super mindful for me, and I think you're absolutely right, right? You said earlier, hey, 10 years from now, like, I can't fathom, I'm paraphrasing here, but you said, hey, I can't imagine. Are we going to be talking about what's happened to the males? I think we probably are. I think the big question is going to be, are we ready to do anything about it? I'm not sure we will be. You pointed out some of the reasons, right? It's the view. There certainly is toxic masculinity.
Oh yeah. When you have a century of toxic masculinity and rapes on campus that are, I mean, there's the stats of fraternity brothers, right? For people who participate in a fraternity, the percentage of those who would rape and those in the sororities that get raped, like the numbers are so drastically different compared to the rest of the college campus. Like, like that toxic masculinity is there. Like, and so that becomes one of the difficult pieces. I don't think if you go to a college campus, like what we think of as a traditional male, I think we're really trying to say, hey, that's no longer welcome or accepted. Like, we don't need that in society.
But it's a sliding scale, right? So you've got, like, you went like, deep, like on that, like from a toxic masculinity perspective, which is fine. But it's the thing about all the other like masculinity points that move down from that. All masculinity is not toxic. Some of it is just very specific to, no, I know you know this. I'm just saying it from the perspective of, we get into, you can't show any of that. Or more importantly, there's the perception of these kids that are dropping out that experience is not for them based on what they hear, what they read.
Yeah. They're not welcome. Yeah.
What other people tell them. And, I think, there's a lot of socioeconomic things. By the way, this article does suggest that the rates of participation for white males are pretty much exactly the same at different socioeconomic levels as they are for every other ethnic classification, which is real interesting. Go ahead, JLee.
What I do know, though, is if there is, let's say, to be a campaign or a stronger focus on boys and lifting them up, it can't be led by a man. And that's the only way that you can make this happen. Like, men ringing the bell for boys and other men is not going to fly in the society. So it's going to have to be a woman, probably a mother of boys, who says, you know what? I'm gonna be the voice of this because I believe in it for my children, for what I'm seeing in society. That's the only way you'll get this.
It's a very good point, JLee, because I think if we did that right now, if a male tried to ring this bell, it comes across again as like Proud Boys kind of thing, right? It automatically goes super conservative, like craziness.
So I want to give both of you an alternative, okay? Sure. Because there are sliding scales down from what you just described. I think it's both men and women who would have to work on this issue. By the way, there's a lot of people listening to this or saw the topic and the rundown, and they're like, it's not an issue. I would tell you, like with two boys in the house and trying to keep them focused on the prize, it is an issue. But the problem is when you think about masculinity, and Tim, I'm not being critical of you, okay? We're best friends, right?
Sure.
But like when we have a conversation, the topic to masculinity automatically goes to Proud Boys. There's like 100 different degrees of that. I'll give you a great name right now that's out there that is the Pied Piper of boys. Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports.
Yeah. Which again, a lot of people would consider that a lot of what they do is toxic. You and I both like him, Katie. We share.
But imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine if Portnoy like really engaged on this issue. I know he won't. But what if a Portnoy engaged on the issue and dialed back the rhetoric a little bit, still kept some of the masculinity in and started talking about this? It would have like a big impact. But JLee,
he has the ear of that generation for sure.
Correct. But JLee, you're right that like, it's not like it's not a guy like doing it as the Pied Piper. In this case, we'll just talk about America for America. But I tell you what it is a bunch of people in households fighting the good fight. because it's not easy. I can think of at least 5 kids in Drew's class, my oldest, who's now a junior in college. I can think about 5 kids who have the ability to really do great things and are underachieving. I would tell you it's probably because the parents just didn't fight the fight. It's like a lot of this goes right back to the household. Who's in the household? What's the expectation? All right. Wow.
Good conversation.
Wow. That was a wow.
60-40. I think I'm most proud, of just having the conversation with friends. I'm most proud, JLee, the fact that you took the masculinity thing on and identified it before I came in with it, because that shows me that there's a lot of overlap in terms of how reasonable people could view it and what the issues are. Tim, you brought up great points. I think it's a thing. And I'll leave you with this. I think we do look up, if not 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's going to be 66-34. And we're going to be saying WTF. And late in our careers, we're going to be looking for male managers. And we're going to be like, can't find any.
KD, for those who ask themselves and say, hey, it's not a thing, it's not an issue, ask yourself if the numbers were flipped. If 60% of college students were male and only 40% female, what would we be saying right now on this podcast? What would we be talking about? It would be a different conversation altogether. And so I think there's where it is a thing. It's a thing when you start to get so far out of the norm of the population of one side doing something different than the other.
You know what we need to close this out? We need a female geriatric millennial to take on this cause and be fair and balanced, to bring the right people into this. I think Jessica Lee's the right person for this.
No, the only cause I'm taking on right now is to say to my fellow millennials, as your leader, don't quit your job. Don't make me look bad. Don't make my generation look bad. Just do the right thing. That's my cause today. Do the right thing. As your leader, I implore.
She's the leader of the millennial class. All right. For Jessica Lee, for Tim Sackett, I'm Kris Dunn. Sometimes we get heavy. Interesting. Good conversation. We'll keep our eye on it. Until next time, that is HR Famous. We are out.